So this one from today has been requested a lot, and I haven't watched any Suits yet. I mean, I know of the guy from the requests. You know, he's this super wizard, clever bloke that can learn lots of things really fast. That we'd have a look at the Mike Ross interview scene from the pilot.
What? I like to read.
Me too.
He asked him what time it was. Throw him off. I mean, what kind of drug dealer asks a cop what time it is when he's got a briefcase full of pot, right?
Valid. Nice double bluff.
Jesus, I'd give you the 25 grand as a signing bonus. I'll take it. Unfortunately, we only hire from Harvard, and you not only did not go to Harvard Law School, you haven't even gone to any law school. What if I told you that I consume knowledge like no one you've ever met, and I've actually passed the bar?
You would be me.
You'd say you're full of crap.
That's not even kind of true.
That's a Barbary legal handbook right there, right? Open it up. Read me something. Anything. Civil liability associated with agency is based on several factors, including the deviation of the agent from his path, the reasonable inference of agency on behalf of the plaintiff, and the nature of the damages themselves. How did you know that? I learned it when I studied for the bar.
We can do this. Third edition. So there are a great many more editions after that. There's a better learn this book.
4 to 6 weeks later.
So let's start by saying this. It is from a utility perspective pointless. Pointless. Because you're looking to be able to have word for word intimate knowledge of books, of texts that you read only once, right? So I mean, I've read this a few times, but I only read it once with the directive of memorizing it, of storing, you know, the specifics of each piece of information on every page, and I think I've done it. But there are far easier ways to get all of the information from this than you need. My understanding of it from Mike's perspective is that from a character development point of view, he will be the kind of lone genius. You know, the downtrodden, likes to drink, has a vice, this kind of plays video games. I don't know, is totally against type, is totally against trend. But that's a very good scene, and I love that bit when it kind of zooms in on the other guy. How did you know that? I learned it. So it is possible. It is possible to do, and it took me 6 weeks to get to a stage where I feel comfortable. We're going to see if I am if I am altogether correct. This is the only way I can think to do it. Hey Siri, name a random number between 1 and 414.
The answer is 278.
278. So 270. Lee Clegg, a soldier of the parachute regiment, was on duty at a checkpoint in Belfast one night. A car approached Clegg's section at speed with its headlights on full. It's in grey at the top of the page. There are a few paragraphs. The next paragraph down starts with Australian courts used to resemble Used to resemble a defence. Next paragraph is follow Clegg, who was Home Secretary. No, that's me. Follow Clegg. Follow Clegg, the then Home Secretary, in that stage. So what I'll do is we'll see how well I do. So Inception, way. God, it'd be shit if it was wrong, wouldn't it? There we go. There we go. Clegg, a soldier of the Parachute Regiment. There we go. Next one, Australian court you used to recognise. There we go. Following Clegg, the then Home Secretary. Boom. How? Now, there may be many more people out there that have done this already. This is simply how I would do it. This is simply how I would do it. And this is the first time I've ever looked to memorize a book that specifically. So for those that have done it before, there are probably much more streamlined versions. However, we are here, so let's do this. The first step is the attachment of information to numbers, and then you build out the mnemonic from there. So what I had for 278 was my base set of imagery. I use a Tony Buzan approach to increase numbers from 278 to 378, 478, 578, and all the way up. You just add a different storage value based on whether it's a number between whether it's a number between 101 and 199, 200 to 2, and so on and so forth. So for my 200s, everything is set on fire. So I take what my 78 is, which is Jerry Halliwell from the Spice Girls, and I set her on fire. Sorry, Jerry, but let's face it, you're not going to be watching, so mega. That gives me 278, and then from there, I build it out. So I build it out. I get an image for Clegg that's on there. Clegg, Nick Clegg in England was a very popular politician because of how terrible he was and how spineless he was in the face of those that challenged him. So it was a pretty easy thing to kind of build up all of these imageries. And then what I had was a mini film roll of things per each person. The actions of what Clegg did that led on to something else, that led on to something else, that led on to the Australian courts. And from there, the process of creating the mnemonics themselves took a day at the most. I didn't time it, but it was about it. It was about a day at the most. And from there, the remaining other weeks was just spent drilling it. Because if you're going to get to a stage where you're going to be quizzed by some hotshot lawyer, presumably. He looks quite slick, so he's presumably the fast-talking, smart guy who's really good at schmoozing people and this kind of thing. Mike would be the brains of their duo. If Mike were Sherlock, then the other guy would be Watson. And I mean, probably vice versa with those two as well. They play in quite similar fields. But if you're going to have that information ready there that quickly for somebody to test you, then it needs to be accessible. It needs to be drilled. It needs to be consolidated. Memory consolidation is key in these types of things. It is something that we all do when we're going from one stage of knowing information to it being something else that we simply use, that we don't have to recall, that we don't have to store, that we don't have to traipse over mnemonic structures in order to get to the kind of information that we need. Consolidation itself refers to the process by which a temporary labile memory is transformed into a more stable, long-lasting form. Memory consolidation was first proposed in 1900 to account for the phenomenon of retroactive interference in humans. And that goes back to available textbooks that are online. In normal memory, a process of organization is continually going on. It's a physical process of organization and a psychological process of repetition and association. Right? I hate learning by rote, just drilling. So when I have to do this with gargantuan pieces of information, it's easier because the information isn't anywhere near as mundane on the surface. So if you're looking to be able to do things that Mike can, like that, I presume he's got some other tricks up his sleeve, but that was the most requested one. Stack your mnemonics and get them active. Jerry Halliwell leads to the nature of Clegg, that leads to the nature of his position, that leads to the associated imagery for the date, and so on and so forth. Then it gets to a couple of links later that gets onto my image for a change of paragraph, which is a paratrooper. Parachutes, these kinds of things. I've got stock stable full of paratroopers. It's pretty much everything that Jackie Chan's used a parachute with. The infamous one with the British flag from the Bond films. The ones that Daniel Craig and the Queen used in the opening ceremony of the Olympics, and so on and so forth. I wanted something that would signify these changes. So I put a paratrooper in there and then link that towards Australians, and then so forth and so forth and so forth. You can build it out from there. The nature of memorizing a book itself is easy. When you just want the core details, it just takes time. It just takes time to be able to do it. This is why I'm saying there are more direct routes to the information that is contained within texts for you to be able to utilize and consolidate as you go. Right? But if you want a textbook in one fell swoop, it's about going over the right sets of numbers and your approach to how you memorize and store numbers, and how capable you are of building out unique individual pieces, and having things like a set paragraph marker, but having as many paragraph markers as you would need to make sure that a paragraph from one page doesn't get confused with another. Right? This is what you would have to go through if you want to be able to do that same thing that Mike does in those interview settings. So a fairly direct approach in terms of memorization, and something that you can all get to grips with your copy of the monographs, right? So yeah, let me know if you want to look at anything else in the future, and we'll get on and get it done. Until that time, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.